Hi, it's Colin Cowherd. I started The Volume to bring you some of the most authentic voices in sports. While you're here, make sure you hit subscribe. Thanks.
Belief is a hell of a weapon in basketball. I remember when Anthony Davis was dealing with his hamstring injury, his groin injury against the Phoenix Suns. One of the things that I advocated for was don't bring him back if you're not sure he can play, because the mental strain that it puts on a team to see one of your star players walk off the floor unable to play is damaging. It does a lot to slow down momentum, to take away that belief and make it really difficult to win. And one of my strategies, or one of the things I proposed in that series was like, hey, like, you're at home, it's game 5, give it your best shot, buy Anthony Davis an extra 2 days. If he's ready to go in game 6, go. And then what happened? Anthony Davis went out and tried to play, he pulled his groin again, and the Suns utterly exploded in the first quarter against a really flat Lakers team. And it looked like that was going to happen again tonight after the Anthony Davis injury. It was a movie we've seen many times this season. It happened earlier this year even, when Anthony Davis went down with a knee injury against Minnesota and the Lakers fell apart at the end of that game. But there was an interesting thing that happened late third quarter where LeBron got a rebound and went the length of the floor, and he laid the ball up against, I believe it was Gobert. And as he's going down the floor, Aaron Donald gets up off of his courtside seat and steps out onto the floor and offers LeBron a high five. And LeBron notices Aaron stepping out there and gives him a big high five back. And the entire demeanor of LeBron shifted, and then the entire demeanor of the team shifted. And it's crazy because it's just a simple case of greatness inspires greatness. We literally saw Aaron Donald put on one of the most dominant second halves we've ever seen from a defensive lineman in the Super Bowl, making the pivotal play at the end of the game. And that inspired LeBron to see him sitting courtside to reach down within himself and try to find something to take control of that game. And coming off of one of his worst fourth quarters, not just of the season, but one of the worst fourth quarters I've ever seen LeBron play in terms of his two-way play, his playmaking, and his scoring against the Warriors, LeBron put together a masterpiece of game control there in that fourth quarter to steal that game against the Utah Jazz. It's such an interesting dynamic to watch him find belief out of the inspiration he got from a dude in another sport and to use that to kind of motivate him the rest of the game. Lots of big plays from lots of Lakers. We're going to get to that in a little bit. For those of you who are just joining us, this is Lakers Tonight, presented by FanDuel here on The Volume. We were just talking about LeBron's fourth quarter. You know, with the ankle injury for Anthony Davis, obviously all we know is what we visibly saw with the play and the way Anthony Davis reacted in terms of what he was feeling with pain. And then we have the x-ray. That's all we have. So it's hard to go with no information. My gut tells me this isn't as big of a deal as it looks, but that's just my gut. So what is that worth? I don't know. We all thought, I was in a restaurant with some friends when AD hurt his knee, and almost immediately I was like, oh, season over. Like, he's falling down in the tunnel. The dude fell into his knee. This is over. And it turned out it was just a grade 2 sprain, and he was back in like 6 weeks, right? So we don't know what's going to happen on that front. Ankles are weird too, because they're horrifically painful. I've had ankle sprains that kept me out for months, and then I've had an ankle sprain where it felt awful, but then the next day I could have played if I wanted to. So it's just really hard to tell. Obviously, the x-ray is a big part of it there, seeing that the ligaments are still intact and the fact that he didn't actually break a bone. That's obviously a good first step, but we're not really going to know until tomorrow as far as how serious that is and what it means for the team. But I do know it means that we're probably going to be without Anthony Davis for at least a little while, right? Like, chances are the optimistic outcome here is that he's gone for at least 3-4 weeks, right? And so then this becomes just an even more pivotal stretch of Laker basketball. Because one of the topics that I planned for tonight was I wanted to talk about how important it was for the Lakers to get into the upper half of the play-in, to get into that 7 or 8 spot. And the reason why is because I think Phoenix is too good for the Lakers right now. even with Anthony Davis, obviously with Anthony Davis. But the Warriors, as good as they are, and as much better Steph is than anybody that's on the Suns, they have some shortcomings. They have some matchups that the Lakers can attack. There's some advantages there. And so one of the things that I was looking at was like, hey, we just need to get up to 7 or 8, win that first play-in game, earn the 7 seed, then we get our 7-gamer against the Warriors, which is a team that I think we can beat. As you saw in that game the other night, even with Draymond coming in, there's just some physical advantages there that the Lakers can tap into that would be problematic for the Warriors in a 7-game series. Well, that becomes infinitely tougher. If let's say Anthony Davis is out a month, so he comes back, after March 16th. You have the Clippers coming up right after the All-Star break. The Pelicans are playing better. Dallas has been playing really well lately. Is defending the heck out of the ball. You play the Clippers again. You have a game against the Warriors. You play at Phoenix against the Suns. You play the Toronto Raptors, who are so much better now with Pascal Siakam playing so well. And then you have the Minnesota Timberwolves, who have been better than the Lakers this season. So it's a tough stretch of games here, and it's going to present an interesting dynamic for this team because belief is going to play a huge role. LeBron, as good as he was tonight down the stretch, I have noticed that since his knee injury, he hasn't quite been as athletic as he was before the injury. It's understandable. He's dealing with knee swelling. It's pain. It's there's a lack of, there's something going on there that's limiting him. And I think it's so important that he has this time here at the All-Star break to get away from the game and get some rest on that knee. If it were up to me, I wouldn't even play in the All-Star game. Last year, he played 13 minutes, if I remember correctly. So it was one of the first times in his career where he toned way back on minutes in the All-Star game. I'm sure he's under a ton of pressure from Adam Silver to make an appearance and to at least start the game. But it's worth getting off that knee because the Lakers don't play again until February 25th. That's a significant chunk of time to try to get some rest for LeBron and hopefully recover a little bit to where he was before the injury. But that stretch of games there over the course of this next month is incredibly pivotal because, like I said, it's so important for them to get up to those upper seeds. And that's where belief becomes a problem because throughout this entire season, one of the biggest issues has been a lack of consistent effort. And there's a lot of reasons for that. A big part of it is a lack of results, right? Like because of personnel issues and scheming issues and injuries, the Lakers have lost a lot of games. And when you're losing a lot of games, it's hard to do a dirty job. Like most of us would do a dirty job if you paid us a lot of money, right? It's like being a trucker. You're away from home all the time. You're gone a lot, but they pay pretty well, right? So it's a balance. What Frank Vogel asks the kids to do, or the guards to do, is very difficult. It's taxing on your body. It requires a ton of focus. And the results weren't there. And so guys weren't really buying into it. And so getting this team to believe in what they're doing and the fact that it could work is going to be a challenge with Anthony Davis out now. Because they need to, once again, just like when Anthony Davis went out last time and they went 7-10, they need to find a way to stay afloat in a very particularly tough stretch of their schedule. And that's going to be a challenge. LeBron's going to be the one to keep an eye on. There have been a couple of moments this year where LeBron has teetered on that edge of kind of falling back into some of his old habits. LeBron hasn't quit on a basketball team in a very long time. But it's something he's done in the past. Not like literally quit, but where he tones back his effort. He clearly gets frustrated. He has bad body language. He gets passive-aggressive and so on and so forth. And there have been a couple of times this season where I thought he might go that direction again, and he didn't. And tonight, again, I thought the same thing. I'm like, man, Anthony Davis is out again. I wonder if LeBron's going to reach a point where he just checks out mentally. And no, he didn't. He kept going. But that's going to be tested again and again and again over the course of this next month as they go on the road to some of these difficult opponents and they potentially take some tough losses. Some losses where the team doesn't really have a chance to win, which is the most discouraging type of loss. So we really need to keep an eye on LeBron and his body language over the course of this next month to see if he's up for it.